Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
TFG Football is an IVM production, and you can also check out their other awesome shows like the On Course Podcast, a show where they help you to tackle various questions related to abroad studies, like which university to choose or how to navigate the application process.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Hey everyone, it's a brand new episode of the TFG Indian Football Podcast. And what do we have over here? It's actually a bit of sad news for all Chennai football fans. Why is that? The Champions Cup, which was scheduled to be held in Chennai, is actually no longer happening there. Now this, does it come as a surprise to everybody? Because, at times we've been talking that the AIFF has been a bit of lax in helping out the preparation towards the Indian football national team. It's sad that it's come to this state that neither the camp is happening there, neither the Champions Cup that was scheduled for 4 teams. It did come down to 3 teams, and the sad news lately is that it has been moved out. Neither the camp is happening there, neither the Champions Cup is happening there. So Chiranjit is joining us via the phone call. And what is this, Chiranjit? Was this something that we thought would happen, or it is just as expected?
Well, first of all, we never would have thought that there would be a tournament happening in Chennai in the first place. But when it happened, it was like, okay, chalo, ho raha hai. And then it happened. But look, there are positive and negative aspects to this. Okay, apart from the obvious heartbreak of all the football fans in Chennai who are about to see Indian national team play there after more than a decade, right? So let's be fair and look into the positives of moving from Chennai to Mumbai. Okay, one, Chennai is not gonna be a great place for a tournament like this right now because Chennai FC is successful to some extent, but that comes after, ISL has a 2-month promotional circle where they blare TV ads and newspaper ads and radio ads everywhere. And it creates an immense amount of hype around the tournament and the team. While in this case, the entire thing was falling apart. They tried to do a Champions Cup with 4 countries. Then the main countries who would be attractive, they dropped out. They did not want to participate in the tournament now. And now we ended up with a tri-series, which was not going to be called Champions Cup. So the branding aspect was lost. And frankly, the starting date is supposed to be around 18th or 19th August, and which is just today is 10th. So it's a week away. And we still don't know the kickoff times, which exact countries are going to participate. There's been no official announcement of a tournament happening in the first place. Yeah. Right? And you have such a short notice thing. And this is a place which is not used to the Indian national team playing there. And we saw what happened in Kochi. There was a shorter notice and a lesser advertisement preparation for that India versus Turkmenistan game, and it did not get a good turnout. So there was always that risk of that happening. And look, part of the reason why they are doing a tournament rather than like playing a friendly or 2 in preparation for the Macau game, which is happening in September, is because they want to provide a good show for the new broadcast. Right. And Star Sports knows that in order to create good hype on television, you need a good show on the pitch and off the pitch, around the pitch as well. So you need some good crowd in the stadium. It needs to look full. And Chennai Stadium, the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, is huge, man. Okay, so even if a good amount of people take notice and 10,000-15,000 people turn up, that crowd, which is probably the best you can do on a short notice in Chennai. That crowd looks sparse and scattered and half empty in Chennai. But you bring back Mumbai, okay, and
No, but partly, really, I'm really feeling sad for all the Chennai fans there. But then, can we understand what was the reason behind this? Because we got to know that there was a delay from the state authority to roll out the permission and the paperwork required to start the work for the preparation. So was this one of the reasons? Was the delay the reason, or is it
the main hiccup was the financial problem? Same kind of issue that Chennai City faced. The rent is simply too high. It's a colossal stadium, which means the electricity bill is high, the maintenance bill is high, and basically it's an extensive project because it's a football plus athletics facility. So you end up paying 5 lakhs for a match, like about more than 1 lakh for practice sessions, which is simply not feasible for the Indian football team. They don't. I'm pretty sure they crunched the numbers and they were sure that they were not going to get any kind of return on that. So why would they, in the end, do it there and incur a big loss when they could just bring it to Mumbai, which is a smaller stadium? It has a 7,000-8,000 capacity, but you know that there's a fan base there because in previous games held at Mumbai Football Arena featuring the Indian team, we have had good support, and there is no there is no big athletic track around the pitch. So the atmosphere is good. You enjoy it. You are close to the action, and the fans are awesome. Yellow Brigade are pretty good for the national team. So you might as well take that thing. And Constantine has always talked about how he likes the Mumbai Football Arena because the hotel is so near the pitch. And the stadium. So all of that taken into consideration. It's a practical move.
At times, I really feel, it's very saddening to understand that there was Nepal who came in to play a friendly at the last minute with India. And there was the coach of the Nepal national side who said, we do not have stadiums because of the earthquake that they suffered. It was a big loss to them. They don't even have a proper national stadium. They die to play matches. And here we've got a lot of options for stadiums to be played. And this is the state. It really hampers your preparation, really hampers everything. It's not just, the logistical side. It's also your mental preparation. When you have your sight set on, say, one of the cities, you've gone already ahead, past your preparations, and then all of a sudden, of a short notice, you say, reroute this plane. We are not going to Chennai. We are going to Mumbai. Now, what does that? What image does it show to everybody?
They're not boarding their flights till late today, so they're not going to show up.
I mean, it's part of a responsibility that AIFF at least takes care of this. This is to be done to be done well in advance. It's not like something that needs to be given as a short notice.
Obviously, I mean, if you're going to have a tournament, if you're going to have a serious contest between 3 countries, we should have had all the information about the matches like a month in advance. Why is there still a big question mark? Because it's not official. It's all up in the air at the moment, which can never be good, and it shows how ill prepared AIFF are to conduct the whole thing. But look at the way SDAT have behaved here. SDAT are the ones who control the stadium, and they're the ones who set the prices on it. Look, AIFF, when I was talking to an AIFF official in Kantirawa Stadium, Bengaluru, and he was the one who first told me that we were going to have the Champions Cup in Chennai, and we broke the story. He said the reason we were doing it there, and obviously 6 stadiums are under renovation, so they are unavailable, 6 some major stadiums, but also because AIFF wants Chennai to become a football hub. And they want to see regular matches happen there. There's Chennai City, there's Chennai FC. Football is on the rise, and AIFF wanted to sort of aid in that. So, what kind of short-sighted sporting administrators do you have to be to see that the national team is coming to us after more than a decade. So let's slap them with this massive bill, which is pretty sure to force them to think twice about coming here.
Yeah.
Right. So how awesome is that? Same thing. We got Football News India at the FNI on the show today, and we talk in depth about another issue, which is happening in another part of the country where a club is facing a similar kind of problems. A sports authority, without understanding the benefit of having a major team like maybe a top division club or the national team come and play on their turf, rather than understanding the long-term benefits of that, they just initially become roadblocks by slapping them with massive fees, which just acts as a deterrent. So you have part of the reason why the sport is not getting off. It's not reaching past that tipping point where it becomes a proper, popular, grassroots, universally loved, inside everybody's kitchen kind of a sport, is because you have these kind of administrative roadblocks. And these are people who are frankly completely short-sighted. So
again, for me, it's really ill preparedness. It's a part of your responsibility to do it much in advance. And we've not seen this is not the first time it's happening. We've seen the Lebanon friendly that we were supposed to have, that also got cancelled because of such issues. And then the US tour, the exposure tour that was planned, that also went for a toss. This keeps coming again and again. At times we just accept it as, okay, this is what AIFF is good at. That's the image that's happening.
Let's go into that. Because there are a few downsides to them moving to Mumbai as well. Right. USA tour was a completely different thing. The Lebanon friendly had also different issues. This is a whole different issue altogether, and at least they're going ahead with it. There's going to be a camp. There's going to be some matches. The national team is going to get some preparation. No matter how much ill-advised it is to hold a tournament that clashes with an AFC Cup game for Bengaluru AFC, it's keeping all that aside. Okay, Indian national team is playing some games. At least that's good. But first of all, this is personal. This is personal beef with AIFF. Like, dude, what the hell are you doing? I had booked flights and hotels in Chennai. I had to cancel all of that shit. Why? You told everybody's going to be in Chennai. I was calling up AIFF people from last month. Okay, when? What? Give me the dates. When do I come? When do I show up and get to see India play? And all of that. Everybody's like, okay, now, mid-August, late August, whatever. And I just came up with tentative dates and went on and booked tickets. And now I have to cancel all of that. Few thousands down the drain. And it could have been easily avoidable if they had used their head and done some proper research before actually going and setting up places and not done this.
This is just what we are talking about, changing of this destination all of a sudden overnight. It just for them it's such an easy thing to do. Okay, just change our plan B, we're going over here. That's really not how a federation should be working, and especially when in 2017.
Some other. I'm a journalist. That's a very different thing. If a traveling fan wants to go and watch the Indian national team wherever it's happening, look at the kind of bamboo he's getting. Right? Just people are not going to just throw money at your stupid schedule changes. Once or twice you do this and they will just give up. Like, TV pe dekhenge kya hai? What is the point of being there to cheer for India? So it's a frustrating thing to be put through. But there are other problems with going to Mumbai right now. When is Ganesh Puja, Ganesh Chaturthi? 25th August to 5th September. How stupid do you have to be to do a tournament in Mumbai during Ganesh Puja?
Excellent. This couldn't have been perfect.
Yeah, what? They remember what happened in Trivandrum when they played during Christmas. They remember what happened in Goa when they did Federation Cup during Christmas.
Yeah, why
What?
does AFF need all these reminders? This is something that they've been doing for years, and the same mistakes is just unacceptable. Let's keep that aside. It's just flaring tempers in the studio and over the phone. Let's keep it at that. And we are in conversation with FNI, as Chiranjit mentioned. Unni. He's been a part of our show much. Always he's like a regular guest for us. So let's head on to this conversation between Chiranjit and Unni, on various topics about Indian football and also the latest happenings in Kerala. Let's see what they're talking about.
Okay, back again with us after a long time. It's FNI. We don't have him on the show enough, and it's a pretty good time to have him on because a lot of things are happening all around us. FNI, welcome back.
Hey, glad to join again.
Yeah, so you are a neutral handle on Twitter when you give out information about Indian football, but you personally are a Bengaluru FC fan, and what a start for their pre-season last night. They were playing in Spain against
Yes.
UCAM Murcia CF at Piñata Arena, and 2-4. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know pretty much. I don't know a lot about the team, but the opposition team. But I think it was a decent result considering that the squad is just assembled and that's we all know because of the ISL, because of them joining ISL, they had to reconstruct their whole squad and things like that. So considering that, I guess it was a decent scoreline, and hope the club will start building up from this. I think it's a pretty decent squad that they've managed to assemble from the ISL draft. A couple of their earlier players like Lenny and Alvin George has made it back to the squad. So, I mean, but it's going to be definitely difficult for them because considering that, it was a set squad that was built up from the last 4 years and they had to, completely deconstruct the whole thing and then build again. So it's going to take some time, I guess, but the immediate concern would be the AFC Cup match that is coming up. So, because they're going to go into the AFC Cup and prepare for it, I think when it comes to ISL later in the year, it might be a bit more easy for them because they would have started much early than all other teams, So, so I think that advantage is going to be there, and So, and the coach has been there, so pretty much he will continue with what he has been doing so far. So. That continuation would also be positive for the club, is what I feel.
So do you think because Bengaluru FC were forced to give up so many of their players, which they probably would have kept had there not been a retention limit of 2 players and change, do you think it would have been a better squad, or do you think by going into the draft they've actually come out with a better squad?
Oh no, I think the earlier situation would have been much more better for the club actually, because considering that they've been having all these players and some of them are with them for a long time and has been in the system for a long time. So obviously the draft was, I think, a disadvantage for the club, but then again, as I said before, because they're going to start their preparations much earlier than rest of the clubs, I think going into the ISL, they might have, head start than the other clubs because they have signed the foreigners and they also picked up players from the draft, and they're going to train for AFC Cup, keeping AFC Cup in mind. So I think when you look at it that way, I think when ISL comes, the club might have an head start than other franchises. Yeah.
So, we were talking, even before Bengaluru FC were taking on Johor Darul Tazim in AFC Cup semi-finals last year. You were on the show. And back when we knew that this was going to be the toughest challenge Bengaluru FC had ever faced. And this time we have, a North Korean club which is going to be even tougher. Pretty much possibly the toughest game that Bengaluru FC have ever faced. So, what do you think? Like, we did not get to see the match. It was not available on a live stream. But you see Sunil Chhetri scoring early on. Then Bengaluru FC conceding 3 goals. And then even towards the end, they were still fighting. They got 1 goal back, conceded 1, but missed a couple of chances towards the end of the game. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a Bengaluru FC fan, but when I look at that, it sort of gives me the idea that these guys are coming off their summer rust. They're playing their first game with a new squad. And, the familiar things are there. Sunil Chhetri is scoring. Udanta is sending crosses and missing a couple of chances every game. And you have a team that's, most importantly, still fighting in the late 70s, 80s in a game that they're playing right after coming off a summer against a decent Spanish side. Right. So, what do you think? These are positives to be taken, or you need to look further deep into the shortcomings?
So, I think as you just mentioned, like they're just coming back after a break, and they started off playing probably a tougher opposition in Spanish side. So, I think these are definitely positives that has to be taken because. These new set of players have to combine well and they have to get going. And that might take some time. And with Albert Roca's coaching style and the style that he wants to play, we've seen that the team struggle to, get accustomed to that. And it was pretty obvious last time in the last season as well because the team finished the season pretty strong, but in the beginning and in the middle phase, the team kind of struggled.
Yeah.
Even though they had a good AFC Cup campaign. Yeah. So I think these are certainly positives, and I think the club will be pretty happy with what they have seen so far. And another important thing is yesterday in the match, they missed Johnson. So that means he was a vital cog all these years in the defense. And also what we have to take into consideration is the goalkeeping department is also completely different. And they have gone with 3 Indian goalkeepers this time. And yesterday Abra Mandal started. So all these factors have to be taken into account while we are making a judgment. And of course, it's just a pre-season match. So I think things are going to get better, and I think it's going to be a positive campaign further on. But as we all know, the North Korean teams and the country in itself, we don't get much information about all these. So the away match is going to be really difficult because, in all these kind of countries, you will have like a lot of fans coming up. They're doing coordinated chants and
no, they don't do chants. North Korea, there are no chants. Like this is something Joseph, who works for AIFF Media, he told me, and it's there in Stephen Constantine's book. Like they all come, they are all dressed in similar uniforms. The entire thing has this one dark grayish hue to it, the entire gathering. And when a goal happens,
saw that. We saw that during the Tajikistan match as well, where the whole.
No, that was very different. That was very different. This time, nobody says anything. Everybody just sits quiet, and when a goal happens, they stand up and clap for 1 minute, and then they sit down.
Okay, so everything is so coordinated.
But they just clap. And nothing else.
Okay. So that, but then again, I think there's going to be a huge turnout. It's like probably the government wants the whole stadium to be filled up tight, or else there could be repercussions. So anyway, when you're playing before a huge crowd, it's going to be tough. And obviously, the thing about North Korea, that it's like a hermit kingdom and you don't know much, and so that that kind of a feeling will be there with the officials and obviously with the players. So it's kind of going to be a very peculiar atmosphere, and we'll have to see how the team will cope up with that.
I mean, I hope they don't beat them with too many goals, because you never know. They aim a missile at Guam, it's gonna misfire and land in India. You just don't know what they're
gonna do right now, right?
yeah. Seriously, man. But obviously the reason, we're going to talk about this as the match draws nearer. Obviously the first leg is on 23rd April at Kantirava Stadium. First big match of the season in national level. So, we got that coming up. But the main reason we are talking today is, something that's very close to your heart as a Mallu. And you are... Obviously, we've heard that Gokulam FC are coming up. They're trying to bid for the I-League. And as a club from Malappuram, Manjeri. So we have some problems with their bids coming up regarding the stadium usage. So what's up with that?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, I mean, after so many years, after Viva Kerala going into obscurity, it's really heartening to see somebody taking an initiative to form an I-League club, because I think that it is very integral for Kerala to have an I-League club, because that is where, I guess, maximum Kerala players could get a chance to show their capability and play at the highest level. So Gokulam taking that initiative, even though with that very weird name. For the club.
Obviously, man.
I guess I'll take it. I mean,
no, but in Malappuram, people will support any club, because, like, you saw how they turned up and filled the stadiums during the Federation Cup that was hosted there. So,
yes, that's true. I mean, Gokulam played in Kerala Premier League from another stadium in Malappuram, which is called Kottapadi. So that's like another small arena where there are no tracks around and all those things. It's a pretty good stadium, and they attracted sizable amount of crowd. And I mean, you have to give it to ISL for creating that awareness in Kerala. And when Gokulam came into the picture, you could see a lot of fans getting active and, okay, this is a club from who's going to support local talent. We need to get behind them. So there were like WhatsApp groups formed. There were like, Facebook groups and fan armies and things like that, even though it's not probably as big as what Kerala Blasters might have. But, there was considerable amount of interest among folks. And people were indeed planning to support, and they did attract a decent amount of crowd in that other stadium called Kottapadi. So what actually happened is that Gokulam faced problems for that ground as well. And that ground is also with Malappuram Sports Council, with whom Gokulam is currently having a tiff on because of this ground availability problem. So what happened was that Gokulam was training and practicing, and there were an agreement was signed between the Sports Council and Gokulam to use this Kottapadi ground. And towards the end of the season, there was some kind of problems coming up regarding the payment and regarding the availability of the ground, because this Kottapadi ground is sought after by a lot of people. A lot of other tournaments, like there's this inter-college tournament called Gold conducted by Indian Express. All these things happen there. So it's a good money-making venture for the Sports Council. So I guess towards the end, when all these tournaments were coming up, I think Sports Council put their foot down and kind of making some troubles for Gokulam. So eventually Gokulam shifted from there and moved the practice to the neighboring district, Calicut, and to the Calicut University ground. And now the Sports Council is accusing that because they did that, I mean, like they're moving out from that ground, going to the Calicut Calicut University ground. The Sports Council did not get the rent in the last part of the season. And that is like a breach of contract from Gokulam side, and that is what the Sports Council is accusing. And now Sports Council is not willing to give back that allot that Kotapati ground back to Gokulam, citing that there is some renovations going on in that ground. So it is pretty obvious that Gokulam wants to have their base in Malappuram, because that's a no-brainer, because we have witnessed the kind of crowd that the Federation Cup has seen when all big clubs like Dempo and all played over there. I mean, other northern Kerala districts like Calicut might also attract decent amount of crowd, but nothing like Malappuram for sure. So the intention of Gokulam is to play in Malappuram, but looks like the Sports Council is not very cooperative at this moment, and now they are refusing to give them the Manjeri Stadium. Gokulam was supposed to start practice for the upcoming season day before yesterday, but they did not get that Manjeri Stadium because Sports Council is creating problems. But this is very unfortunate because, it's a new club and they are trying to set up something, and Malappuram in itself has a lot of footballers coming up, and it's a place where there is huge praise for the game. And when the authorities themselves are scuttling the plans of somebody who's trying to build up and probably a team which is going to give a larger platform for the local players, if they're going to scuttle their problems rather than having an amicable solution, it's really unfortunate, because after all these years, probably Kerala might witness some regular I-League football with a lot of local players. So, kind of very, unfortunate is what I feel. Yeah.
So I was talking to a couple of Kerala Football Association people, and they were saying that apparently the ground rent has also gone up this season because of high demand, and they think if maybe they think because if they're playing in I-League and they're getting giving some extra fees for direct entry, so they must have money. So they want to get some extra money out of this. Maybe the past dues of the last season are also in their mind. That they did not get the full season. But what astounds me is that Malappuram has so much potential, to emerge as a major venue at the national level, and for that, all they have to do is to get a club that's playing at the highest level, at the top division league, based out of there. And here you have somebody who's investing a lot of money, and they are willing to set up their base there and put Malappuram on the map again, and on the biggest map there possibly can be in Indian football. And they're not looking at the long term potential of this. They're not realizing that this club may be here for decades, and that may ensure huge revenues. Maybe if there is a merger, maybe they will play in ISL. Who knows what will happen in the future? So this is a long term project, and you just sour the whole thing at the beginning. That just destroys the entire future, which can be beneficial for both the district council and the club. So how can somebody be so blind to the long-term promise that this has?
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of problems most of the sports bodies in India have, right? I mean, they're probably not looking at it in the long term.
Yeah.
And as I said, like after Viva, we did not have anyone coming up and investing in football, and there is this group who's kind of interested in putting that money. And as we all know, I mean, it's like something that you don't get immediate returns from. So so they're doing actually a favor for Kerala football by doing this. So the authorities have to take into consideration that as well. I mean, like in the sense, okay, if this is going to go long term, it is going to bring that attention back. And also, even in the last year's start, there were considerable amount of players from in and around Malappuram and that locality. So
Yeah.
it is going to be a platform. It is going to be a platform for the players to excel on a larger platform, get recognized, and probably get picked by other bigger clubs in and around the country. So they have to think in a long-term perspective, but that's not happening, and it's really unfortunate to see that they are kind of being a stumbling block for something which could be coming up as a bigger prospect for the whole state and the district itself. But then again, I guess that is how most of these organizations work. And it's not like Gokulam is a very small group or something. They're a pretty big group in Kerala, and they also have considerable political clout. And I'm really surprised to see that if Gokulam is struggling to find a home, what if other clubs come and they might go to a bigger hell than this? Because these guys are pretty big, and the owner and the firm itself is pretty famous in Kerala, and almost everyone knows that they got like good political connections, things like that.
So do you think do you think they might be able to use that political connection to resolve this?
So as you know, most of these things are like, almost all bodies are filled up with political people. So I don't, right now, I'm not sure who is at the helm. I mean, which party is at the helm in the Malappuram Sports Council. But they seem to be having some trouble. So I'm drawing a conclusion that some opposition party, or the party to which Gokulam is aligned, or rather their opposition is actually part of the Malappuram Sports Council. But then again, I hope the state government to take into account what is happening, and they take notice of what is really unfolding, and probably send a directive to the Sports Council to solve this problem amicably. And also, I'm not saying that they should get a free run, like they should not be like getting the ground for free or something like that. But, find a solution which can work for both parties. I can understand that the other stadium which Gokulam played is a much sought after arena. So that means the Sports Council has a lot of options of making money, renting it out to various tournaments. So find a middle path so that both can thrive and both can go forward. So that is what actually should happen. And I hope the state government also takes into consideration what is happening, and probably get involved and sort this out. But they have larger things to fight these days, so I don't know what is going to happen.
It just seems,
Also, I should mention about some of the fans are getting really unhappy about this, because people who have been following and people who want Kerala football to, move forward are really unhappy. So yesterday in some of the WhatsApp groups, there was like messages pouring in telling that what nonsense is happening and things like that. And there is also a small time campaign happening telling that, this is kind of a very weird approach from the Malappuram Sports Council, and they should actually allow Gokulam to have that ground and get going. So in the coming days, I guess if this standoff is not getting solved, I guess the fans are also going to, use their minds and probably push through a lot of messages and get their message across in social media, and probably that might attract some the attention of some politicians and things like that. So people are already telling that we should conduct protests, we should go and sit in front of the Sports Council office and protest and things like that. So these are some of the messages that were coming through yesterday. So fans are also frustrated. So I guess in the coming days, if the standoff doesn't end, you might see fans also increasing their pressure on the authorities by conducting some campaigns and things like that. So that is also going to happen. Yeah.
Okay, so this is an ongoing story with Malappuram District Council, right? Malappuram FC was trying to create a team for second division a couple of years ago, and they ran into similar troubles with the ground. Did not manage to get it for practice sessions or anything. So, let's see. We still have some time. Thankfully, this is early August, and the I-League begins November. Although we will know who's gonna get the new club, I think middle of this month, in a couple of weeks from now. 18th August is when they open the bids, and Malappuram would be a hot favorite venue to get into, to add to the top division. So thanks so much for speaking to us and giving us a detailed look at this pretty important ongoing situation. This is such a big parallel to what's happening in Chennai, where the SDAT is causing a lot of trouble with their rent for the stadium, and Indian national team has to go elsewhere. So imagine the national team is also having the same kind of troubles. And
So the bureaucratic issues is the biggest stumbling block for the sports to progress in India, I guess. And we have very good examples in front of us in the past 2 days. That is Malappuram and Chennai.
Yeah. So thanks so much. Hopefully we will catch up with you again, as Bengaluru FC's matches draw near or the league seasons come close, and we'll get more detailed updates from you, and we'll follow this story. Good news, bad news, whatever it is, we will share with our listeners, and hopefully we'll get your reactions on them as the situation progresses.
Sure, man. And I want to appreciate you guys for doing all the good job. I mean, I guess TFG Football Podcast is something that all the Indian fans, or majority of Indian football fans, look forward to these days. And congratulations on the good work you are doing.
Thanks, man. 150 episodes plus and running. Hopefully we'll continue, staying with us. Thanks so much again, man. Catch you again soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, so you heard about, it's just frustrating for an Indian football fan who starts expecting, okay, there is finally some football action, and then this comes along with all the baggage of, carelessness, and you've seen how Chiranjit just went wild.
Well, I was in a much better mood when I was talking to him.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is, I think there are positives to look at here. Hopefully, the Malappuram issue gets solved in the coming weeks and months, and we have the local leagues beginning. The Mizoram Premier League fixtures are out. Today, we're going to see Aizawl FC taking on Chanmari FC in the semi-finals of the Independence Day football tournament. So if you're listening to it by now, the match has already probably happened. So go to the fangarage.com. The report will be there. You'll find out what happened. The first fixtures of the Calcutta Football League are out. Kerala Premier League is also, slowly, picking up pace. The teams are beginning their pre-season, wherever they're getting their grounds and everything. Goa Professional League is also coming up. So it's, football is happening. An Indian team, despite all the troubles they faced in Chennai, are actually going to play. So, it's up to people of Mumbai now, to just show that no matter what happens, they're there to support our boys, because in the end, that's what matters. And throughout all of this, it doesn't matter how many mess-ups we see along the way from district councils or state councils or AIFF or clubs or whatever it is. In the end, if there is football, and you like a team, you just have to support them no matter what. And there is no way we get through this and help Indian football grow if we can't take this on and regardless of what happens, keep showing up and keep supporting those teams.
Right. So that the message is clear from all of us at the Fan Garage. Over to you, Mumbai FC and Mumbai City FC, whoever you are. Come and support the Indian football team. For right now, it's not the club, it's not any team, it's the Indian senior national football team. Be there for whatever dates we'll share the details of all the fixtures as we get it to us. Do check out thefangarage.com for all the articles that we talked about and any news that comes along in any time. Also follow TFG Football Twitter handle. You can follow @FNI for Football News India. That's Unni's Twitter handle. And if you want to talk to Chiranjit, it's @Chiranjit Oja. I am on @BOZA_Kevin. And do share, like, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and also download this awesome app called IVM Podcast. Keep listening, keep following, keep commenting, and we'll come back to you tomorrow. Bye.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India, but unfortunately most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started ATKT.in. Hi, I'm Ankur, I'm a musician and a rapper, and I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through ATKT.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. ATKT.in.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.